I'm not quite related to the family. I have a stepmom and I have different grandparents, but I didn't know them at first, and then when I first met them, I really liked them, and I kept coming, and now it feels like they're actually my grandparents.
Smiley? Now remember, these stories are about Robert.
I can't tell you what he did to me, though.
Well, oh, that's okay. Just leave me out of it.
A lot of you guys know me as, probably know me as Smiley. I went to work for Robert when, between my 8th grade and freshman year. And I grew up in Duncan Lockers. And some of the stories that I could tell you, I'm not going to tell you.
You better not.
Well, one time, I'm going to tell you this one. I don't remember exactly what I did. But we have these trolleys, the wheels that holds up the beef. And he made me go back in the slaughter room one afternoon, and I had to get a big bucket, filled it up with hot water, soap, and he made me clean all the trolleys. And that was a punishment for something I did. And I can't tell you exactly what I did to do it, but I deserved it. But I come to really respect Robert because he really showed me the respect and really turned me into a man, because his values would rub off on me. And I think that some of the things he did for me has made me the person that I am today. So thank you, Robert. I'm very proud to be part of your life. Come on, Dave. You grew up there too. Huh?
We'll wait. We'll stay till you're through.
Well, I went to work just shortly before Smiley did, maybe a couple of years.
Probably, yes, in high school too.
But I don't know how Robert ever put up with me and Carl and Smiley and Danny and Lonnie. But he did, and I don't know. I was trying to think of something that was kind of funny, and I remember when we were, we used to slaughter at the high school and then carry the meat up, and then he built the slaughter room on the back of the store. And once the slaughter room was built, then he had to redo the processing area up front. So we were doing all the meat processing in the slaughter room, while they're doing all the construction. And I remember the day before, I had butchered a couple cows, and there was a little tiny baby calf in there. And of course we saved the livers and the hearts and stuff, and the next day we would slice them up, and the meat wrappers would wrap it. And of course, messing with liver is always messy. And so I'd slice the livers, and get into a pile, and the meat wrapper would tear off a piece of paper, and I just place it on the paper for them so they could wrap it. Well, this one meat wrapper, Geraldine, she liked to talk, and she was talking to wrapper, and instead of putting liver on the paper, I put that baby calf on there. She screamed. She screamed. And of course in the slaughter room, it just echoes in there. And Robert comes running back there, what happened, what happened, what happened? We always,
That was an unborn calf.
I'm sorry?
That was an unborn calf, so it wasn't alive.
Yeah, right, it was, but anyhow, we always had fun working down there, and there were times where Robert would have to get onto us, we need to get some work done. But
Can't
I
imagine.
remember one day, Robert had kind of got onto us, we need to do some work. And so we're boning, and I go to steal my knife, and Robert, I don't know, I think I bumped him or something, and he reaches his knife over like this, just as I was stealing my knife, and the knife blade goes. And he felt pretty bad. And I remember one other time it was after I was working for the sheriff's office, and it wasn't even a day off. I had to go to work in the afternoon at the sheriff's office, and Robert was snowed under. He had a bunch of meat that needed to be done, and so I'm up there, and I'm trying to hurry so I can go home, take a nap before I need to go to work. And when you hurry things up, then accidents happen. And I ended up stabbing my leg. And I walked back to the bathroom, and to see how bad it was, and Robert comes in there, and he's just beside himself. He's tearing up a white smock, and going to bandage it up and stuff. And, he always cared about his employees, and we always had fun, and I really appreciate the opportunity to work for Robert. And kind of like Smiley, his values were second to none, and definitely rubbed off on us.
The voice that you always did.
Oh, which one?
Well,
Ernest Root.
Yeah, we had Ernest Root. That was. He was
Or
here.
Violet.
And he was always, whenever you talk about things, I can't even remember some of the things, but one of the things he always did, you know what, Bob?
Yeah, that drives him crazy.
And, he was a character. I remember we had Patsy Grubbs that went to work for us, Patsy Hubb. And Ernie, he always kind of flocked around the females that were kind of cute. And he goes up to Patsy as she's working as a meat wrapper, and he asked her, "You like not very thanks?" And she's going, "What?" "It's not very thanks." "You like not very thanks?" "No." That was Patsy saying Salisbury steak. Oh!
He had a list,
Yeah.
right?
And then, of course, we had a lady by the name of Violet Jones that worked for us, and we would, every time we'd cut the round steaks and sirloin tips, they needed to be tenderized. There was an extra charge for tenderizing, and so we'd have to weigh it, and she'd put it on the scale, and she'd call out the weight to the meat wrappers to write it down, so we could charge it. 8 pounds. ounces and a quarter. Then there was the guy that had a trick knee. You know, I remember one day that I was sick. I had the flu. And I was at home in bed. And Robert, him and Margaret were gone at a meat convention or something. And so it was Danny and the guy with the trick knee. And the guy with the trick knee was the butcher that day. And we were still slaughtering at the high school. And so after we slaughtered at the high school, and after you halved and quartered the beef, then we'd have to carry the quarters up a ramp into the back of his meat wagon. And then they'd haul it up to the store, and then we'd have to pick up the quarters, step down out of the van, and carry the meat into the store. Well, we had a feedlot bring in a super large beef that day. A normal beef, you know, 1,000-pound beef will dress out about 650, 700 pounds. This thing dressed out at 1,400 pounds. And the butcher says, my trick knees bothered me. And I can't lift it. And Danny, he calls me up and says, what am I going to do? You know, Dad's in Wichita. And I said, I'll come in. And so I came in and it was a chore. But we got that thing loaded up in the van and finally got it to the store. But,
That was an old milk truck.
yeah. So, and I don't remember it. I know it was wintertime. And I think it had kind of snowed, so, you know, we carried the meat, the quarters out of the little butcher room and up like a cattle chute into the back of the van. And I remember Danny having to put his foot behind my foot every time I'd take a step, you know, just so that I wouldn't slip back down the ramp. And that was a challenge that day.
That's crazy.
I know it didn't really have anything to do with Robert. But that's about the only story I can remember about the trick knee guy.
Probably glad he was gone.
I need to say this, that the place down there would have never worked if it hadn't been for these young schoolboys, Carl Barkin, Danny Duncan, David Horner, and Brian Talbot. There's no way in the world that I could have ever survived that place down there without their help. I could tell you stories now, forevermore, about how much these guys meant for me. And it wasn't all work. We had our fun too. And I just want you to know that these guys that have been talking about me, making an impression on their lives, I have seen them grow up, and they have made an impression on my life too. So very much, I want to thank you two guys for all that you did. Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. I have got one story to tell. I know maybe somebody else is supposed to be telling these stories, but this story happened after I got out of the plant down there,